The war has divided people across the world, but there is a more distinctive line between them, which is being drawn among the people and their governments. Just as the war started, while leaders started taking their sides, while governments are busy aligning with their foreign policy and vested interests, people are driven by their moral calling. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was one of the first to reach Israel, where he categorically said that till the day U.S. exists, it will stand by Israel. The president, too, has shown unwavering support to Israel. In terms of words and military aid, Washington has not stopped short of support. Meanwhile, this is happening on the streets. So that was in the United States. Let's go to the United Kingdom. Just a few minutes back, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak made a statement.
The terrible nature of these things. We are doing everything that we can to protect you. We're providing an additional £3 million for the Community Security Trust to protect schools, synagogues and other Jewish community buildings. And we are working with the police to ensure that hate crime and the glorification of terror is met with the full force of the law. I know the whole House will support this and join me in saying unequivocally, we stand with the Jewish community.
Meanwhile, thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators marched in central London. They called for an end to Israel's military action in the Gaza Strip. Chants were aimed at the governments of Britain for supporting Israel. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen has offered her full support to Israel. During her visit to Tel Aviv, she met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu without first receiving a mandate from EU leaders. While in Israel, she made a statement that raised many eyebrows. She said, how Israel responds will show that it is a democracy. Israel's response in Gaza is the exact reason people are out on the streets of European capitals. On your screens are visuals from the latest protests. Police have tried to prevent the gatherings. Some cities have even banned them. But anger over Europe is unequivocal. Support for Israel is garnering anger. Canada has toed the same line, condemned Hamas's attacks, and showed full support to Israel. Almost all Western leaders have noted that Israel has a right to defend itself. However, people of Ottawa do not fully agree.
We also call on Canada, because Canada is not only complicit, but has been openly supportive of this genocide that Israel is committing.
Pro-Palestinian protesters rallied in the streets calling for the end of Israeli occupation. Protesters chanted "Free Palestine" and called for justice for the people. There are a lot of such instances coming from around the globe where government's stance is not matching with people's chants. Pro-Palestinian protests are growing, and as the war drags on for 10 days, the global sympathy seems to be shifting towards Palestinians. The Strip is under siege and being cut off from the world. Dr. Kinraj Jangid is the visiting faculty at Ben Gurion University in Israel. He's now joining us live from Tel Aviv. Doctor, welcome to the show. First of all, I want your views on the ongoing global demonstrations. What do you think could be causing the division when it comes to support of Israel and Palestine?
Well, this has been a long standing support in many European and the American cities for the Palestinian cause. I think if we look at the last 10 years when Israel has been very, very unilateral in terms of managing the conflict rather than solving it, there has been a shift in the European and the American capitals where civil society movements stand for the Palestinian cause. I think what is important, which is worrying, is that in this round of violence, somehow this old solidarity movement, whether it is in London or in Canada or in Europe, that has gone into giving a certain degree of legitimacy to the methods used by Hamas. Let's understand the use of violence in international politics or in the national security. If we say we condemn the use of violence by the state in the name of national security, then we might also, in a Gandhian spirit, say we also condemn the use of violence in the name of national liberation or the national movement. So I think what has happened, unfortunately, is that there is a growing anger among the Jewish population in European cities or in American cities that this is not to legitimize the Hamas and its methods, and not to speak of its goals. I'll give you a better example. In 1982, there was a massacre in Lebanon called Shabra and Shatila. Israel had control of Beirut, and Israeli Defense Minister Ariel Sharon allowed a Christian militia of Lebanon to walk into Palestinian refugee camps and killed around 2,000 people. Now, this was part of the Lebanese civil war, but the fact that the Israeli defense minister was actually in control of the place and he allowed a massacre to happen was considered a very, very extremely inhuman by the Israelis. So in 1982, you have the biggest public protest in Israel, where 4 lakh people compelled Menachem Begin, the right-wing prime minister, to sack his defense minister. And Ariel Sharon was sacked for not direct role into the massacre, but certainly an indirect role.
Okay.
So I think to a certain extent, democratic societies are healthier when they allow the democratic protest to take place. I wish something of that could also happen in India. But I read that in India, there is a very, very strict, proactive agencies and the police that are either shutting down mosques or picking up people who are writing some kind of a post taking position on the conflict.
Doctor, let's move on from that, because I still want to understand, when Hamas attacked Israel, most leaders rallied behind Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu and his call to defend the country. But as soon as the retaliation started and bombs in Gaza, the world reacted, and we are now seeing many protesting in support of a 2-state solution or free Palestine. And this might change with time. What's your view on that, briefly?
It's certainly true. Israel does have the burden of occupation and the lack of peace with the Palestinians. So I think what's happening right now is that old historical burden is coming to, in a way, minimize the empathy that Israel just received a week back. But we also need to know that in this fast world and instant news and reaction to the news, the visuals, the social media is also rapidly, moving one victim with the other. But I think if we do want to analyze, then we need to say that this support shall not go in legitimizing Hamas as much as it should go in strengthening the 2-state solution and the Palestinian Authority.
Okay, all right. I've been talking to Dr. Kinvraj Jangid. Doctor, thank you very much for all your insights and for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.